everyone, and happy Tuesday. This is Sonia here with Real Talk Radio, and today's word of the day. And this one was originally published on my Real Talk Radio blog in August of 2018. And in this blog post, I talk about the refining process that I believe God sometimes takes us through to prepare us for the call on our lives. So I am just going to go ahead and share the blog post. I just recorded a new Spreaker episode where I talk about borders, boundaries, and new horizons. And I do just want to say here that I chose to call my podcast and my blog Real Talk for a reason, and that's because I'm sharing different aspects of my life journey as I do feel led by the Lord, and inviting those who might feel drawn or called to come alongside me as I am, stumbling forward. And at some point, it's also been my hope that, those listening to the podcast and reading the blog might eventually also feel inspired to share and, dialogue in a safe environment about their life journeys as well. And so for this particular podcast, it is the first one that I felt prompted to record and share while I was experiencing some of the pain of the construction and reconstruction process. And this was interesting because what I was talking about during the podcast, I was also actually experiencing in that moment, especially the idea that as we're moving forward into our new season, that some construction and reconstruction within us continues. And there is still a necessary tearing down of any internal walls that might hinder us in our new season. And because these boundaries and walls may have brought us comfort and security in our last season, we might find that as God begins to remove them, we might start to feel varying degrees of some emotional, discomfort, pain, some disorientation, and vulnerability, which can result in a need for comfort. And I was, definitely experiencing some of these feelings to some degree while I was recording the podcast. And so while it was humbling, it was also authentic and real. And that's kind of the heart of what I hope Real Talk Radio is all about. And so here's just a short segment from the podcast where I touch on the tension I believe we might experience as we continue to move forward with the Lord into new territories that will require new borders and boundaries to be established. While old mindsets and patterns are being torn down, it can help us maybe be less resistant to the process if we can more consciously be aware that the Lord is tearing down these old patterns or walls to make way for the new. It is in this in-between stage within us, this place of uncomfortable tension, where the Lord has already torn down a lot of the old season, but we haven't quite yet crossed fully over into our new season, that we may feel vulnerable. I also shared in the podcast what I was personally experiencing in that moment, which was a need for comfort as I was feeling some old internal walls coming down. I encourage those listening who might be going through a similar experience to seek out the Lord in those painful moments and not to look, to other sources for that much needed comfort. I also explore in the podcast some of the reasons why I believe it is so very important for us that God establish new boundaries for us in our new territories. Okay, and that is the end of the blog post. If you would like to hear this podcast episode in its entirety, just look for my podcast episode titled Borders, Boundaries, and New Horizons, and you can find the full full episode right here on Spreaker. It's also available on Spotify, iTunes, and iHeartRadio. Just look for S. Mills' Show. I do hope today's Word of the Day has been an encouragement to you, and I look forward to being back with you again tomorrow with another Word of the Day. Until then, this is Sonia with Real Talk Radio, signing off.